Hello, and welcome to The Gallery, a Premier Arts Collective podcast. My name is Logan Rice. Sitting across from me is Gene Krcelic, CEO of Premier Arts Collective, and we're excited for the very first episode of The Gallery. And I say episode, but really this is more of an extended trailer to give a little bit more background on who we are as an organization, why we do what we do, and why we're doing a podcast and what this podcast is meant to do and the stories it's meant to share. So first, I'll dive into an introduction of us organizationally. We are Premier Arts Collective. Our mission is to use the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. We're based in Greenville, South Carolina, but we have the honor and joy of doing work all around the world. And our history goes well beyond our 4 years as Premier Arts Collective. We rebranded in 2021, but have a history of being the Premier Foundation from 1998 until 2021. And that's a wonderful story and how we were led to where we are today. That will be an episode in the future. So a little spoiler alert there. But there's really three main facets of what we do. We use the arts therapeutically, whether that be art and music therapy, creative writing workshops, using just the arts in a therapeutic capacity, the process of making art rather than focusing on the end goal. There's so much power in that. And we love being able to take that therapeutic process to a number of different organizations here in our backyard, as well as across the country and around the world. We partner with a lot of fantastic performance artists and have spaces where art can be seen or heard in more, I'll call them general places, downtown Greenville, in a venue somewhere around the world, where we can take hope-filled art and music and bring them to the masses. And that's something where, you might see a painting downtown and it looks like a painting, but if you dive a little deeper, there's always going to be a story of that artist or their story. And that's just really our heart is having art, not just for art's sake, but for, many components, the artist showing who God is, all that type of stuff. And then finally, we believe in the power of the arts in community. And we have a community art room in Greenville where all kinds can come and create. And we've had young, old, all types of socioeconomic backgrounds come and just to be in a space and have the freedom to create. Art breaks down those barriers really quick and community is built. And it's been amazing. And so we have a heart of taking that community element of art making and music making and bringing that to folks as well. And the ultimate, why our mission is to use the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And we believe that healing and hope is found in Jesus. So that is our ultimate why behind what we do. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to do what we do. So, Gene, that's who we are and what we do. Why are we starting a podcast?
Yeah. I remember when I first heard the term podcast, guy that worked with me in my former life, in the entertainment business, podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? And, he tried to explain it, but in the simplest terms, it's a conversation. It's a radio show. It's recorded that people can listen to at any point in time. And like what you just explained, we've interacted with so many people. There's so many incredible stories out there, how people's lives have literally, not just figuratively, but literally been saved. We could use the term saved for Jesus Christ, but I'm talking about physically saved from perhaps committing suicide or going down another path of addiction. It's really incredible once we start digging into this. One time we were in a meeting, we were working with a arts organization, where we were looking at working with an arts organization, becoming a financial partner. And the executive director said, "What's our return on investment?" You remember this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never been asked that before because we're a charity. We give. There's not, we're going to be very strategic. We're going to put $1,000 in this and we're going to get back $10,000. That's not what we do. Build relationships. If people want to get on board with us, that's great. If not, that's fine. I thought about it, and then my answer was the story. That's it. That's a ROI, man. It's the story, being able to take the story of somebody's life that was literally changed because we existed as an organization. And we talked about it for a long time, and it just makes sense to capture some of those stories. And they're going to be everyday people. You know, people that you might see in the grocery store, somebody you might see, you drive by them and they're homeless, right? But there's some compelling stories here. It might be the millionaire down the street or the person just trying to get by a few doors down. It's important to lift those voices. So those are the types of people who are going to be out here. But there's also going to be musicians, some people that everybody knows, famous artists, musicians, bands. There's so many stories because arguably some of the greatest art in the world comes from the deepest pain. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's not the end result. It's the process of creating something. It's having the conversation. So that's the reason why we're doing this. We're here to capture stories because I know when I hear somebody's story that I can relate to, it might give me hope in a particular avenue of life.
Yeah.
And you and I have heard some pretty devastating stories. But when you meet the people in real life, you're like, wow, that's you? This actually happened to you? But they do find their hope and find their peace. And art's one of those just incredible, incredible things. The space we're in here, it's an office, right? And we're going to have people come in the office. We might do Zoom podcasts. Sometimes the podcasts may be video. They might just be audio. You might host them. I might host them. Somebody else might host them. Mm-hmm. So it's really the gallery is what we're offering. But the space is our office. It's thin walls. You can hear sirens outside if there's, an incident going on. We have a train track, kind of like in the movie Bull Durham, that goes right through the outfield. So you're going to hear a train at some point in time. Yep. No question about it. So it's just it's a cool space because it's real. This real life happens. And you try to remain focused. So when we hear these distractions, let's just try to be focused. Let's try to dig into it. So that's a part of what's happening with this thing.
Yeah. One thing I really love about podcasting is it has lowered the barrier to entry for storytelling. Back before we had film cameras, and then it was harder to do things. And then the film camera came out. Then the digital camera came out. Then, wow, there's high quality photos on your iPhone. And the barrier to entry to telling stories visually through photography was lowered. It's not rocket science to pull out your phone, capture a moment, and that story can be told. And we see that as evidence through social media, and podcasting, I think, has allowed the barrier to entry for storytelling to be lowered. It doesn't require, again, like you just said, this is an office. This isn't a radio studio. We're not in LA. We're not in New York. We don't have 30 minutes on air and then the next guest, or the next host is coming in. And that opens up the door to have people who would never be on the radio or never be on XM, or whatever, to have their story shared. And not only have an individual share their story, but also hear the stories of those who are heads of or a part of the organizations that we partner with. Hear their story, hear their specific heart for the population that they serve, that we get to come alongside and use the arts in aiding in their mission. And so I'm really excited about this because, to your point, could be video where we're in person, we've got the cameras, we've got the lights, or it could be we are up in New York and we've got a portable microphone and an iPhone, and let's just shoot it. And that might be an episode because that barrier to entry is low, and that allows for stories to happen in the moment or be pre-planned where we talk to somebody across the world or we're talking to somebody we just met 5 minutes ago. But so that's kind of the hope. Deere said the gallery, very intentional name. We want you to see a variety of stories and a variety of works as you would see in a gallery where you walk in and go, wow. And there's a variety of different art forms, different mediums. There's probably some music playing in the background. That's the heart that we're trying to bottle into this podcast.
100%. So let me just let me offer a question to you because it's similar to really the theme of what we're doing, the stories and how art affects you. Sometimes it's things from the past. Sometimes it's the process that you're going through at the moment. So for you can give me one of each if you want, or you just give me one. how music, whatever capacity, how music has affected, altered, changed, enriched your life somehow, how that art form did, and how, take another art form, has it had impact on your life and why? Significant moment.
I'll start with art because this is a story that I use a lot when talking with other people about what we do, especially in a therapeutic capacity. When I was in the 5th grade, and this is an impact that might seem negative, but it comes around in the end. When I was in the 5th grade, I was in art class, and we were given a project. A piece of paper was handed to us with 2 dots on it. There might be more to that, and my classmates and teachers can fact check me. But what I remember is there's 2 dots on that page, and the only assignment was to create a piece of artwork using those 2 dots. And I couldn't do it. Something as simple as 2 dots on the page, I couldn't do it. And the reason why I couldn't do it was because I had a perception of what it needed to look like and what good art or bad art was. And I looked around at my classmates, and they're crushing it. They're making really good stuff. Man, how did you see that? How would you do that? And then actually just the ability to then connect what the brain saw to what the hand was doing, I couldn't do it. And man, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was frustrated. I wrote, "I suck at art" on the back of my page and felt really guilty about writing that and tried to erase it, but then the teacher ended up catching it anyways. I threw it in the trash. It was not a good time. And that stuck with me from an art perspective because my mind, I think it's changed over time, maybe not, but my mind thought very much there's right and wrong. I really loved math, particularly like algebra, because it's an equation. You plug this in, this is the result that you get. You either get it or you don't. Art isn't like that. But I wasn't taught that, or maybe I was and I just didn't hear it. But there was good art and bad art, and I was on the bad side. To bring it back to the music, that's why I like music, is because, okay, I actually can sing a little bit. I learned how to play the guitar when I was a kid, and you're either on pitch or you're off pitch. You're either in time or you're out of time, in key, out of key. With art, it's so the borders are open where, yes, there's technique to use for different things, but for the most part, it's very open. And so I, from visual art, did not like it at all. And then the lovely irony is, fast forward, a decade or two later, and I work in an organization that uses the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And yeah, there's the music side there that I'm like, okay, I can really get behind that. The art side and art therapy and using the arts therapeutically, I was like, I don't know. But the beauty of it is when I learned about those things and learned about what we do as an organization, I was filled with relief, because it's the process of making, not the end result, that is really where the magic happens. And I can understand that, because if it's more about the beauty of creation rather than the end created piece itself. And when I learned that, a whole world was opened up to me about visual art that again, since I was in the 5th grade, it was just, there's good art, there's bad art. I'm a bad artist, therefore I'm not going to do art. And, now we tell people all the time, you're an artist. You are an artist. And that's the number one thing when we say, hey, do you want to participate in this therapeutic art group? We're going to do this. What's the first thing that comes out of people's mouths?
Hey, I can't draw a stick figure.
Yeah, I'm not an artist. Can't draw a stick figure. And the answer is, yes, you are. You are an artist.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter that you can't draw a stick figure. Let's walk this path. And then the beauty that's come out of that has been incredible. So from a music standpoint, music's just always been a part of my life. The first album I ever got, this would be a moment. I remember the first album I ever got. It was Christmas, and we got a CD player for Christmas. And my mom went to high school with Toby Mac's wife. And so, and Toby was a background singer on my aunt's record in like the early 90s. And so mom was like, I'll get Welcome to Diverse City. And man,
wow.
Wore that album out and could probably tell you every word from it to this day. Me and my brother were actually just talking about the other day about how just the memories of playing the CD and that being, again, there wasn't really like a Spotify library. So yes, we could go theoretically buy another album, but that was the only album, that was the only CD that we had, that I had, that was mine. That was me and my brothers. And so we played that. And that's a memory that, again, 25 years, 30 years later, we're maybe not 30, we're not there yet, but a couple years later, we're going, man, we remember that album significantly and just the impact of music.
That's wild. Yeah. I've known you for a long time, but it puts in perspective the distance in years. My first album was actually an album. You know what I mean? It was vinyl. I remember I saved up some money, man. It was ABC by the Jackson 5. And golly, I still have that album, man.
Yeah.
It's money. It's fantastic. It was just listened and listened and listened. I remember the first cassette I got. I remember the first CD I got. Actually, it was a bootleg of something else because it was so new. And then it's because I remember when CDs actually came out. That's the interesting thing. Oh, yeah.
Is that your moment, or do you have?
No. I was just piggybacking on your diverse city.
All right, give me your moment of art and music.
Yeah, some people may or may not know my background, but I was in the music industry for years and had a recording studio and just loved bands, loved music, loved creation, both secular and Christian music on both sides. And I just really, there's so many profound moments, but there's one when I was on my path of, seeking truth. Who's this Jesus guy for real? Heard about him all my life, but all right, it's time to get serious, right? Early 40s. And walking down the path, and 2008 rolled around. It was really tough, and we ended up having to close our company down. And we had a lot of investors and banknotes and a lot of stuff. And it was heavy, man, on my heart, on my soul, on my life, on my family. I'm like, man, I realize I'm in God's grip. I realize I know who my Savior is. I'm on this path. So our company even transformed from a secular company to a Christian record label. It was amazing. But then all of a sudden 2008 rolls around, and now that we've done all these things, I followed you, and now it's crumbling. And there was a song, actually this artist kept our band's song from reaching number one. I think it was this actual song, now that I recall it. It was Sanctus Real. And I remember sitting at my desk, just to turmoil. And the song, I think it's called Whatever You're Doing. Whatever you're doing inside of me, it feels like chaos. But somehow there's peace. I think I've got that right. Might have missed a word. But you get the gist of it. And I just broke down, man. I was crying. It was just so epic. I mean, what are you doing, God, for crying out loud, man? You're putting me on the path. I figure it out, finally realized, took the blinders off. I'm here. And then I thought it was supposed to be easy. But then if you have walked the path, you realize it's when the work begins, man. It's kind of like getting a record deal. You want a record deal your whole life. You finally get it. But, hey, now's the time where you have to deliver. There's some parameters that are working on this record deal. And it's not there's parameters with the love of Christ. There's a realization of what your life will be. So it's an interesting ride. That song was big for me. And since then, Matt Hammond is a friend. And we've done some stuff together. And it was just a beautiful moment. And art, I mean, I can go down the path of art, seeing art, having created some art. There's a variety of ways I can approach it, but I'll approach it with something that just happened very, very recently. We represent, as of course you know, but other people may or may not know Jared Emerson, and who's a painter, performance speed painter. He's incredible. We went down to Florida and we did this event. Well, it wasn't an event. It was somebody had won a painting in an auction. They bid on it, and a part of it was going to their home to paint it. We were going to do it in their living room, and that was going to be it. Kind of anticlimactic. So Just threw a couple of ideas, man. They're like right across the street from the beach, man. How about if we do it at the beach? All right. How about if we do it at sunset on the beach? All right. Forecast is rain, but okay. Man, wouldn't it be cool to have a drone? All of these things, it was just going to be in somebody's living room. But now, all of a sudden, all these things came together. So we're on the beach painting. I wasn't painting, but I was on the beach. The drone guy there. There's nobody else on the beach. But it was in a hurricane devastated area that's finally coming back in Florida. And there was this high rise that was next to us, but maybe 10% occupancy because there was still a lot of damage. And this is the part about art, but this is many stories on the same thing, man. He was painting for a couple on the lady's birthday. You didn't know anybody else was there. You could see it. You've seen pictures, man. Nobody's there. But as soon as he finished, there's people up on the top floor. They started clapping. It's Jesus, amen. They just started going and going about it.
The painting was Jesus, not
the
Jared.
Painting, yeah, the painting. Right. If you know Jared, you know we got the hair flow. And so, yes, it was just amazing. They wouldn't stop afterwards, and they were so thankful. So the lady comes down. That was a part of that group up there as we were packing up and leaving, and she was kind of tentative, and the lady who the painting was for, she said, well, come on over and take a look at the painting. And it's dark outside, still misting at this point. And she was just kind of nervous, but she said, can I get close to it? Can I take a picture of it? She said, you don't understand. My day started out so bad. I had such a bad day. And then I'm sitting up here and he's painting Jesus. And then she started getting teared up. It was such an emotional moment because although the painting was for this other couple, somebody who was completely random was affected by it probably far greater than the people that it was for. And they were really affected positively by it. And that's happened. You've seen it time and time again, how what is intended for one, there's actually somebody else getting something greater from it. And that's the beautiful thing about art and performance and being engaged and taking a minute and watching and listening and hearing the story or just observing, man. So those are the two. I mean, but there's so many.
That's awesome. Yeah, and this is, again, I mean, that story. It's why we have the podcast. We want to tell stories like that of individual instances, and also want to hear people's stories at large and how even if the art intersected, let's say it took years to get to the intersection of how God used the arts in their life, the background that leads to that is important, right?
Oh, yeah.
In that story you just gave, okay, yes, it was impactful that they clapped and she goes, well, I'm really impacted this. But then when you hear, my day started out awful and my day was rough, and then I saw this, it adds weight to it. So there will be some components of these interviews, the conversations where you're going, man, this is a lot of backstory, but the backstory often provides a greater gravity to the impact of the arts and how God uses those. And so, I think that was a great story to kind of encapsulate what this journey will be. And I think that's a great place to end it. If you've been on this journey with us as Premier Arts Collective for a while, thank you. If this is your first time ever hearing about us, you can visit our website, premierartscollective.com. Check us out on social media, Premier Arts Collective. Follow along the journey and see how we're able to use the arts as a vehicle of healing and hope. And that is what we do, and it's a joy to be able to do it. So thank you for listening. I can't wait to start this journey officially as the gallery.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.